Welcome, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO with GoCloud Careers. And I'm here today to help you build your best career. Perhaps you desire to be a cloud architect, or a cloud engineer, or a solution architect, or an enterprise architect. In any case, I want to help you get cloud hired. I've been working in tech now for well over 25 years now, and I've been helping others get their first tech job or get promoted in tech for more than 2 decades. And I want to help you get cloud hired. Almost every day one of my students gets cloud hired. Even yesterday I got notified of another cloud hired, and it's the best part of my day. And one of the keys to getting cloud hired or hired for any job is having the right skills that the employers desire and being what employers desire. And that's exactly why I'm here, to make sure you get the experience and the guidance from someone that's done it and succeeded and helped so many others succeed, because I don't want you to waste your time going back and forth pursuing a bunch of irrelevant certifications and in the end struggling to get hired. I want you to know that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And I want to help guide you to that straight line so you can go from here straight to the moon and skyrocket your career, because that's what it's all about. I want to know that you have what it takes. So we're here today so you can ask any cloud architect career questions, or solution architect career questions, or cloud engineer career questions, or enterprise architect career questions, whatever it takes to get you to your goals. Now, before we begin with the questions, and I love answering questions or I wouldn't be here, let me talk about a few free things we have going on to help you build your best cloud computing career. While certification is not enough to get you hired, it will help you get an interview. And for that reason, and we'll do obviously more than the basic certification when we do it, we're going to teach a completely free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate Bootcamp. And it's a redesign to cover version 3 of the exam. And of course, we're never going to give you just a certified solution architect exam. It'll start from the very beginnings and it'll go close to the level of a certified solution architect professional, because I want you to have skills and knowledge and understanding about the cloud technologies. Sign up right now. It's completely free. Tell your friends it's completely free. I want the world to come. I don't want to see anybody ever pay for certification training, especially AWS certification training. I know it's out there, and I know our free is better than anybody else's paid. So completely join our completely free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate Bootcamp. The link's in the chat box and the description below. Now on LinkedIn, on Thursday, we're going to have a webinar. And it's going to be our famous How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. And if you've got questions about cloud engineering, that's fine. We'll answer them too. And people come from all around the world on these webinars. And every week, we tell you how to leverage your life experience, assuming you didn't work in tech to get cloud hired. And if you worked in tech, guess what? If you want to be an architect, it's still not good enough. You're going to have to show them that you're more of an architect and then an engineer. We're going to teach you how to do that anyway, one of the things we do. Then we'll tell you how I transitioned from medicine to tech and how other people can do it, because I've helped so many over the last 20 years. And then after that, what we'll do, we'll tell you what recruiters desire in the perfect cloud architect and solution architect. So in that matter, you know how to be what they want, become what they want, and guess what? Get cloud hired and hired for much better jobs than everybody else. And then we'll talk about a little bit about what needs to be on your resume. We'll talk about how to skip HR, because you don't want to get auto-rejected when you lack experience, so you can get yourself cloud hired. All that completely free on Thursday. So please join us for the free How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. The link is in the description below. Now, next, I wanted to say we are going to be starting to use LinkedIn a lot more than we are doing. We're going to be distributing a lot of free training in October and November, a lot of it. We write magazine articles in today's week a couple times per week, and we'd like to share them for you because we want you to build your best career. So we'll be giving you guidance on business and leadership and communications and whatever it takes to help you build your career. So follow us on LinkedIn, both me and GoCloud Careers, because you never know which of our organizations is going to post it, because we take turns. So follow us. And of course, the biggest thing, if you want to get cloud hired, right now we have 30% off of our everything with the coupon code potential. See, we see what's going on with this hyperinflationary environment we're in. It's robbing people of their free income. It's robbing them of their disposable income, and it's hurting families so badly. Here's the secret: double, triple, raise your salary, and then you won't care about the inflation. You'll be in a great position. Like so many of my students say, I changed their life. They changed their life by doing the work that we provided them, and now they're cloud hired, And now they're not in a position to care about inflation at all. They don't have any money cares at all. So I want you to be in that position. So take advantage of our 30% off coupon code POTENTIAL to get hired. And that applies to the Cloud Architect Career Development Program, the Cloud Engineer Career Development Program, and of course our Leadership Program, the Tech Career Accelerator Program, and even our interview program. So take advantage of it now. So at this point, give me a hashtag cloud hired and start asking your questions so I can get you cloud hired by giving you advice. Eddie Patrick, good morning, cloud hired, or afternoon for you. Actually, it's afternoon for all of us, or evening for you, actually, Eddie. Matt, you love to be trained as a business enterprise architect. How do you leverage your background in health and business management /MBA? What skills do you need in digital transformation for the above? So Matt, you've mentioned the degree. By the way, you signed up for our Cloud Architect program. We're looking forward to working with you. So Matt, you've mentioned a degree. Degrees like certification can be meaningful or meaningless. It's not about the degree, it's what you actually know. So see, Matt, for example, when I did my MBA, and I love MBAs and I recommend them to lots of people, I didn't get most of my education in the MBA program. I got much more of it from executive training at Cisco and executive training courses and CXO relevancy courses and leadership courses and soft skills courses, but I still have the MBA. All my team has it and I love it. So let's talk about the things that you hopefully got out of the MBA, things like the ability to do an ROI model. Hopefully you've got good skills on reading balance sheets and financial statements. Hopefully understand weighted average cost of capital and capital structures, so you can make those rent versus buying recommendations. And let's face it, the cloud is just rent versus buy decisions. No different than any other business case where we look at the organization's weighted average cost of capital and we determine, is it better to finance it and build ourselves versus operate in the cloud? Then we can do the calculations of determining personnel and management fees, and we can advise our customers for real, not just say, hey, I'm certified. And I know that going from CapEx to OpEx, and people say OpEx to CapEx, and people act like that's a good thing. It could be and it could not be. And I also don't know what you've done in healthcare. If it's just a business degree in healthcare, well, you might know some healthcare. If you have an MBA in healthcare and you actually worked at a hospital or a healthcare system, then you may know healthcare. So we have to determine, and in our course, we're going to figure out what you actually know. Because what's on paper and what's in your head could be very different. You could be bringing a wealth of experience from a job that you have. You could be bringing a wealth of experience from some other life thing that you had, and I don't know what that is. So one of the first steps in our program is identifying who you are. And then it's determining your goals. Then it's doing a gap analysis for the most part of where you're at now versus where you'd like to go. And from there, we can take it. So, I don't know your background. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, trying to become an enterprise architect as your first job is probably not realistic. Yes, I get people enterprise architect jobs. I had somebody in England just Sunday tell me that they got an enterprise architect job. And I've had several other students get great enterprise architect jobs, but normally they have some tech experience. Once it didn't, but normally they have some tech experience. So what we really need to do is first figure out what you're interested in, figure out what you like, and then figure out, what you need to do. Now, you'll probably need to be a cloud architect for a couple of years first. Now, again, I don't know your background, I don't know your goals, and I don't know what you like. So that's the key first. But let's assume, for example, you truly know healthcare because you worked in a healthcare system and you understand healthcare workflows. You understand from the time the patient comes in from the registration desk to the time they're discharged, from the time they come in on the ambulance to the time they're discharged. What goes on in the ER? How do they get admitted to the hospital? What happens when they're migrated to the floor? How do they get moved to the floors or the units? On the units, how are the patients cared for? What do the nurses do? If they have nursing assistants or practical nurses, what do they do? How does this get involved in the physical therapy team? What type of electronic health records do the organizations do? How is that affecting your workflows? How do the insurance companies reimburse the patient? What's going on with HIPAA? What's going on with HCAP and other things that, for example, could affect healthcare reimbursement? And then, because these are just parts of the components of healthcare. What kind of healthcare technologies are there? And we're not just talking about electronic health records and computerized physician order entry systems. We're talking about IP-enabled IV pumps, for example, maybe RFID tagging on wheelchairs, because nurses spend 25% of their time looking for equipment, for example. Patients get lost, so what could we do about it? There's lots of things. So the first thing we have to do is determine what you'd like to do. Now, if you truly know healthcare, like me, because I used to practice medicine, then you could put yourself in a position to be a healthcare architect. And if you've worked in the healthcare industry for years, you might be able to get a healthcare cloud architect or enterprise architect role. Now, the business architect and an enterprise architect are two different things. A business architect is a management consultant. And what do? They ask the client, what are your business goals, business pain points, business challenges. They follow all the department heads around. And then when they deal that, they ask questions to the people on the ground. Then they design an optimal end state, optimize workflows, and then they go back and design the business architecture, business process reengineering, people training, for example, new workflows, new technologies, that kind of thing. That's a business architect. Now, the enterprise architect and cloud architect do something almost identical, but it's a little different. So they go interview the clients, ask about the business goals, business pain points, business challenges, ask a bunch of questions. They bring in then a team of engineers to actually baseline the tech systems, their servers, their storage, their security, firewalls, all those kind of things. They map it all out. And then they go and determine they make a diagnosis, they determine the optimal workflow, and they focus on what technologies, for the most part, will solve the problem. Is it cloud technology? Is it a data center technology? Is it security technology? Is it a business application? So that's typically what the cloud architect, enterprise architect does, which is one of the reasons certifications is worthless for getting cloud architect hired or enterprise architect hired, because you have to understand the business. You have to understand business workflows, business goals, business leadership, because you can't change a business if you don't know it. And that's why this business acumen piece is so essential and critical. But let's say you're like me, I used to practice medicine. And let's say we train you as a great cloud architect. And we will, because I'll make sure you're one of the greatest cloud architects out there. All my students are. They do incredible. So let's say you worked in the hospital, you know the healthcare, and you know the business like that. And then we train you to be an excellent cloud architect. And you work as a cloud architect for a year or two, and you learn how to build truly high availability systems, truly resilient systems, truly scalable systems, and systems that will solve customers' problems. And you get really good at it. That is going to be great. So now, a year or two later, you combine your business acumen in healthcare with your cloud architect skills, and you become a healthcare cloud architect or a cloud healthcare enterprise architect. And that's what I did. So first, I practiced medicine. Okay. Then I did this network architecture thing for a while. And I don't know how, maybe because I had an MBA too, I found myself designing systems for banks. And I like working in banks because they paid the most, because they're the most dependent on technology and they have budgets that don't matter. So you want to take a limousine home? Fine. You want to have dinner and drink a bottle of Silver Oak wine with your buddy and some great steaks? Fine. So I like being in the banking industry because it was a very cushy job. And then at some point I was at Cisco and they said, we want to focus on the healthcare industry. And we really want to focus on the healthcare industry. And I said, I'm interested. And that's when they started vertical industry architects, and it became popular throughout the world. Microsoft has them now. Google has them now. AWS has them now. Deloitte, Accenture, they all have them. And that's what you do. When you combine experience and knowledge of an industry and you mix that with tech, wow, you got something great. But becoming a cloud architect is your first job. Look, we do it every single day. We have graduates now at JP Chase, Apple, AWS, Microsoft, Deloitte, Accenture, Capgemini, JP Chase, and I could go on and on. But that cloud architect, solution architect is the first job? Yeah, we can do that all day, every day with our training. But that enterprise architect piece, that's going to take you a couple of years. But we'll give you the skills that you'll know what to do anyway, and you'll be cloud hired, and you'll love it. I promise you, doing anything in cloud versus this, oh, you said you're an RN-BSN. Now that matters a million times more. You know the healthcare workflow. You know how to assess a patient. You know the patient migration to the hospital. You know the nurse's job. Now, Matt, now we're talking. You know what the hospital's largest expense is? Nursing. So you know how to tune nursing workflows. Matt, you're going to be in a great position. Every tech company, I don't care if it's Nutanix, Zoom, all of them, they all have healthcare people. So give it a couple of years. Wait till you see where you're going to be. It's going to be a fun and exciting world for you. You're going to love it. And then you'll be like me all over the world. Robert Welch. Yes, welcome to the family. Robert Welch is an amazing student of mine. You're going to hear from tomorrow. He just got his first cloud security architect job We love Robert and we're so proud of him. Omar Weaver, how are you today? Yes. Good to see you. Omar Weaver, good afternoon, everyone. Rock and Roll, thrilled to have you here today. Rock and Roll. Hey, Mike, I liked your post last week about skills, not certifications, but I noticed Adrian C. posted a similar message a couple of days later. Wondering if you noticed this. Well, Rock and Roll, yes, we have noticed that there are many instances that we've seen of this happening. Usually when this happens, it's because the person or the company just doesn't have a strong message on their own. There's not much we're going to say about other people's projects, except to say that many of their students actually come to us after trying their program and not getting hired, only to have immense success with us afterwards when we give them the proper training. Now, hopefully some of these other providers can build themselves a unique message, but let's go on to the next question. Lady Godiva, thrilled to see you here. Burra, happy to have you back. Anselm, welcome everyone and enjoy the ride. Anselm, it's great to see you. How are you doing today over there in Cameroon? Burra, can't wait to get yours. You're signed on today. Burra, we can't wait to work with you. Collins, Cloud Heart is who we are. Yes, Colinzo, that is exactly who we are. Matt, hi, Robert. Hi, all. Matt, we're thrilled to have you. And welcome, welcome, welcome. Another healthcare provider like me. Burra, Mike, does your cloud architecture program all three cloud forms? This is AWS, Azure, and Google. Burra, we cover a lot more than that. You have to know everything. So here's the thing. If you think you can just get certified in a vendor and get hired, well, of course you can't. That's not going to work. And if you think you can only know one cloud, of course you can. And here's why that's not going to work. 87% of customers use two or more clouds. So we teach you how to use all clouds, Burra, not just a single cloud. Yes, we cover the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. We also cover the Azure Solution Architect Expert, but that's still not enough. Every one of my students will actually design and build their own cloud from scratch. Because when you can design your own cloud, and it's like here, this is a little AWS link, it's nothing. My students all know how to create AWS from scratch. Every one of my students can do it, and they all do it. They all build their own OpenStack cloud. So we predominantly focus on AWS, Azure, OpenStack, and we talk about Nutanix a lot, but we also talk about Google and train some of that as well. But here's the thing. It's like the Who song, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. All right, I'm not going to have a career as a rock and roller, but I still like rock and roll, although reggae music is my favorite. But we will teach you how to drive the car. And what I mean by this is, look, if you're dealing with reality is as follows. Reality is when you deal with, as an architect, I go talk to my customer. If I say Amazon Simple Storage, they're going to kick me out of the room. I'll be fired and my replacement will say, thank you, Mike, for the great new job. When I deal with my customer, I have to be fair and impartial and objective. And my customer needs to know that I care about them. So you're never going to hear me say the term EC2 instance. I'll talk about their virtual machines. Why? In their data center, which you're probably going to keep, they're probably going to have some VMware virtual machines. And they're probably also going to go to two clouds. And they're going to use virtual machines on AWS, Azure, Google, Oracle, Alibaba. Doesn't matter. Now, AWS made up some names called Elastic Compute Cloud, and Google made a funny name called Compute Engine Instance, and Azure called it an Azure Virtual Machine, and Oracle called it a virtual machine. And Barra, we're going to get you so strong at design that it'll be like, if you ever had to go to the store to buy tissue paper or Kleenex, if you buy Puff, if you buy Kleenex, it's the same thing. And we'll train you so well that you will know how to use any cloud. And if it's not those three, it doesn't matter if it's the Palo Alto cloud or the Cisco cloud or the Dell cloud, you know how to use that too. Because we're going to teach you what's under the hood. And then you can do anything. So it's not like, imagine learning to drive by like, hey, I got certified to drive a Honda. Woohoo! Oh, my wife got a Toyota. What am I going to do? Wait, my brother's got a Mercedes. I don't know what to do. And his sister's got a BMW. No. And the only way that occurs if you don't understand it. So, for example, if this is an elastic vector directional angular changer, and you learned that, but you didn't learn it was a steering wheel, and you didn't learn how it worked. You just knew how a couple configuration buttons how to configure it. And then you went to a Toyota, and Toyota said a Toyota directional vector angle manipulator thingamabobber. And then you went to somebody else and they called it a steering wheel, you'd be lost. But if you know what the tech is, how it works. So we're going to teach you how to drive all clouds, every cloud, because I want you hired. And that's all I live for, getting you all hired. And almost every day somebody gets hired. On my Friday class, 2 of my students announced they were hired. I loved it. And people tell me you can't get hired when you're older. One of them was 63, one of them was 61. And why are they hired? Because they're amazing. It's not about age. It's not about anything. It's about, do you have the skills? Do you have the right attitude, energy, enthusiasm? And tomorrow night, you're going to hear from an incredible cloud security architect who took our program and is now working as a cloud security architect. And it's not just a basic cloud security architect role. It's a very elite role. And this person deserves it. He's actually in the chat box right now. And we love him. So say hi to Robert. You're going to get to meet him and talk to him tomorrow night. He's exceptional in every way. I'm thrilled to have had him as a student. I'm thrilled to have called him a friend. And I'm honored that he's going to share his experience with you to help you all build your best cloud computing career. Robert Welch, this program's so exciting. I am so excited. I'm happy to say I'm cloud hired. Robert, you brought me to tears in class, and I know you saw it, and I'm embarrassed thinking about it now. I'm almost there. Thrilled to have you, Robert. Almighty hi, Rob. See, I love that. See, we're a family. We're a family. Dustin Godfrey, can't wait for tomorrow night. Me either. I love presenting my amazing students to the world so they can see how great they are. That's Shaba, cloud hired. How are you today? If I recall, you're in South Africa. And Dustin, cloud hired. Yes. Ask us your questions so we can help you build your career. Omar Weaver, cloud hired. Dustin Goodfried, cloud hired. Cat hired. Yes, cat hired. Oh, my cat Cindy yesterday, she was kind of frustrated with me. I actually had to go leave the house for a couple hours. And normally I'm home to let her in and out every 10 minutes. And I didn't get home until 8 o'clock at night, and she was determining whether she'd stay with me or go out at night. She chose to stay with me, which I'm very thankful, but cat hired, yes. My cat's got a job as the troubleshooting coach. She's unplugged Ethernet cables, chewed through Ethernet cables, pawed off power buttons on OpenStack servers. She's real good at that. And let's just say she caused all kinds of mischief, but we love her. So cat hired, we love you, Cindy. He was in the next room sleeping next to me. Cloud hired, Anselm. Daniel Hearn, hi, how are you? Daniel Mitra, cloud hired, good to see you. Lady Godiva, hey, Mike, I want to be a cloud architect. What's the best way to prepare for the SAA CO3 Bootcamp? Should you just follow our program and check back to it afterwards? Insert shameless plug for upcoming Bootcamp. Thanks so much. So Lady Godiva, here's the thing. I have a completely free book right now on passing the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. And that covers the associate and professional. You can use that right now. And that's going to be 80% of what you need there of the new content. We're going to run this boot camp, and Lady Godiva, we're going to make it great. And it's not going to be like some certification class where you watch videos, and they're going to be PowerPoint slides, and you're blah, 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 blah. I tried watching those just to see what was out there. I couldn't last for more than 5 minutes. It was so bad. So I would never, ever ask anybody to do that. That's torture. I'd rather be waterboarded personally than try to watch PowerPoint slides with audio. But that's just me. And but then I have a lot of tactical training in my life too. So, there's that. So ours is going to be like a real classroom. And it can't be like we do for our cloud architect career development program where it's live on Zoom and it's a smaller community and we all know each other. But it's going to be a classroom. We're going to talk for 20 minutes and answer 10 minutes of questions for the whole week. So nobody's there. And I don't want anybody left behind. I want everybody to learn. You can't learn just by watching videos. And here's the thing. If you want to be a cloud architect, you can't learn by configuring. Here's the reason why. Let's pretend you're a building architect, Lady Godiva, and please make sure if you got questions, you ask them. Imagine trying to train someone to design a building by teaching them a hammer and a nail driver and a screwdriver and say, here, design a hotel. They'd look at you like you had 40 heads. And that's what we're seeing with the certification providers. They're teaching you how to configure. Okay, and then you go to the customer and they want you to design something. And you're like, but I code. And they're like, but we don't want an architect to code. I like a configure. And they're like, but architects don't configure. I know DevOps. And they're going to say, yeah, but architects aren't DevOps. And you're going to ask them what they want somebody. I can design a solution, present a solution, and sell it back to somebody. Somebody. So take the class, the free class, read our free book. Now, if you're looking for additional certification guidance, because our focus is always getting you hired, I will tell you that Andrew Brown makes some very good AWS Certified Solution Architect certification training, and it's completely free from Exam Pro. And I like Andrew Brown because he does exactly what he says, prepares people for the exam. That's his role. And we need that. So Andrew Brown is a good resource. And again, it's free. You can find it on YouTube. In addition to mine, lots of our students combine the two. And if you're looking for a practice exam, Review and Prep is a very good organization that has some very good practice exams. Their CEO, Hemant Sharma, is a personal friend of mine, and I know he's dedicated towards getting people to pass exams. So my dedication is getting people hired. His dedication is getting people certified. So I would say take ours. If you're looking for more, take Andrew Brown's free course. It's fantastic. You can find it on the internet. It's for a little bit more proprietary certification stuff. And you can get a review test from Hemant Sharma. It's very inexpensive. The website is, I think, reviewandprep.com. But it's a great, great site. You copy those together, you'll pass that exam like nothing. How easy is this exam with our kind of training? Well, one of my students, Duquesne, I think it was Duquesne, that passed the Certified Solution Architect and the Certified Solution Architect Professional in 6 weeks when he started our training, and it was nothing. So guess what, Lady Godiva? You can do it. You're going to be great. And then make sure you focus on your architecture skills, your business acumen, your leadership, your emotional intelligence, your CXO relevance, your presentation skills, your design skills, and then you'll be cloud hired. And we are thrilled to help you in any way. Thank you so much for asking this question. I'm confident that you'll be a cloud architect, and I can't wait till you're cloud hired, Lady Godiva. Can't wait. Daniel Heron, how can you help someone transitioning into cloud from help desk overcome analysis paralysis? Okay, Daniel, there's going to be a lot of things you have to do. But before I get to your question, please ask questions if you have in the chat box so I can help you. So Daniel, it's not actually an analysis paralysis problem you have, and I'll get to that. It's a career dynamic change. So in help desk, people call with a tech question and you give them a tech fix. You talk them through, unplug, replug, the power on it, the paper in it, what's your IP address, can you reach your gateway, those kind of things. Troubleshooting. And when you go to the cloud, we have to determine what you're at. So right now, if you want to go help desk in the cloud, you can still do that, but you'll just need some cloud training. Now, if you wanted to be an architect, but you didn't tell me your career, so I'm going to assume you're an architect, and if not, I'll transition to engineer, because there's 1,000,001 kinds of jobs in the cloud, and they're all different. So if you wanted to be an architect, Daniel, you're going to have to go from a job where you're used to touching the tech to a job where you're thinking and focusing on the business. So it's not that you have the analysis paralysis, you got to change your thinking completely. What I mean by this is as follows. If you're in help desk, you're helping people with tech. Now, if you wanted to be an architect, your focus is on helping people with their business. Helping people with their business. Yeah. Wow. Tech versus business. So you kind of have to forget all of what you've ever done in a help desk, except in help desk, you may potentially have developed a little bit of emotional intelligence. Because if people call screaming at you, my computer doesn't work, you might say, sir, could you please tell me about the problem so I can help you? What's going on? And if you're able to calm them down from help desk, that is some really, really, really good lessons. So hopefully for that. Kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So there's that. So if you want to go to an architect, your focus has to change. So instead of thinking, because you're always going to be an analysis, but it's not going to be a tech analysis. So what kind of analysis? It's going to be a business analysis. So if you're an architect and you're asking a customer how to improve their business, you have to find out about their business. You have to analyze their balance sheets. You have to analyze their financial statements. You have to analyze what the CEO is telling you, what the chief operating officer is telling you, what the chief financial is telling you, the chief information officer, the chief technology officer. Then you're going to have to understand what industry analysts are doing. And then you're going to speak to the department heads. And then you're going to run around the floor and you get it to the frontline workers and ask what they do, what's working, what's not working. And then, Daniel, you have to analyze that. And from there, you're going to have to make business recommendations. And the business recommendations might be stay in your data center and build a Nutanix cloud. Stay in your data center and build an OpenStack cloud. Go keep part of what you have in the data center because it's new tech, and offload or burst to the cloud. Or what you have in the data center is old and outdated, and put it on two clouds. What are the availability requirements? What are the security requirements? So it's always going to be an analysis. Now, when do you get into, so it's going to be that. Now, if it's engineering, you're still going to be analyzing, but it's different analysis. As an engineer, they're focused on the tech. What tech makes things work? How do we make the tech better? How do we tune the tech? So, architecture is more focused on how does the tech solve a business problem. Engineers are more focused on the tech itself. So there's that. Now, the key with regards to analysis and how do you analyze big things is a couple things. I'm a big believer in gut with science. Okay, wait, gut with science? What does that mean? So, there was a really good book written by Malcolm Gladwell. It was called Blink. It was recommended to me by a Navy SEAL who was trying to teach me how to use my mind to be able to use my subconscious to see things better, because I'm an elite martial artist, warriors trained to use their subconscious and their main conscious. And what you sometimes have to do is you have to take a step back. So when you're too close to the problem, you can't solve it. And that's why architects can't afford to touch the tech, for example. The second we touch the tech, we're focused on this and we can't see the big picture. That's why architects don't touch the tech, which is another reason why architects need special training on how to put pieces together. So you've got to take a step back and you've got to see the big picture. Sometimes it's because you don't know enough of what you need to make the analysis, and you need to get help and you need to do some research. And again, that's okay too, but you got to take a step back. Sometimes you have to walk away from the problem. Personally, with me, I always walk away from the problem. Now, Daniel, I've been in tech now for 25 plus years. And prior to that, I practiced medicine. You know what I learned? It's based on the African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Now, in my life, Daniel, there's never an architecture that's done by one person. Never, ever, ever. It's always a team. So what I like to recommend is, Daniel, you find a team of people that are really good, with lots of energy, experience, enthusiasm. I mean, really, really great people. I want you to do that. Get it good. And then when you're stuck, ask somebody else for their perspective. Ask somebody else for their perspective. Ask somebody else, and then average the perspectives. And guess what? You might get 3 perspectives that are all right, 3 perspectives that are all wrong too. So don't ask people that know less than you. Ask people that know more than you, that have been successful. And then look at it from another's perspective. Also, Daniel, I always like to look at things from another perspective. Now, I come from medicine, right? I mean, so in medicine, it's all about our emotional intelligence and empathy. So I always try to look at something from another perspective. Now, lawyers are trained in school to argue a case the opposite side only agree with, because again, you've got to see something from another's perspective. So take a step back. But really what it's about is, if you're determining what your career is, because I don't want your analysis paralysis on, and please ask further questions, you got to find what you want to do. So it all starts with building a plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I hate to say it, but you need a plan. And I'm not the kind of person that likes to plan, but I need to plan too. And I do plan. Not always as good as I should, but I always build a primary plan, a secondary plan, and a contingency plan. And if I'm not good at that, I find those that are better at planning around me to help me build the plan, because we all have our strengths, weaknesses, and blind spots. So find somebody to help you build the plan. I mean, that's why we do that in the Cloud Architect program. But I don't know where you're from, and I want to make sure you have a good career. So I've given you some general guidance, but I still don't know what career you want. So could you tell me what you'd like to do, Daniel? Maybe give me some guidance. I would like to be a cloud engineer. I would like to be a cloud architect. My goal is to be an enterprise architect. I would like to become a software developer. I don't care what it is. But if you tell me your goals, I can help you build that plan. But if you're analyzing in paralysis based upon your career, it's really different as well. And what do I mean by that? So sometimes you got to figure out what you want to be. And if that's what you're trying to struggle with, I'm going to try and make it easy. If you like to design, present, and sell, and talk to people, you want to be a cloud architect or a solution architect. If you want to be a hands-on techie, then again, Daniel, focus on the tech. So, okay, you're in our cloud architect program. So what question do you actually have? Is there a goal that you have that I can help you out? Or was it just in general, how do you go through all these other things? and I hope I answered your question. I knew your name seemed familiar. Like, I think you're one of my students, but I just want to be sure. Okay, you're currently enrolled in our program, so guess you are. Hello, Mike. It was great to see you and everyone else as well. Omar, it's always good to see you. Matt, you're welcome. I'm so happy to have you ask your questions, and I'm so excited to be working with you. Mr. Gee, Cloud hired. Collins012, good morning, Cloud President Mike. How is Cindy? Collins, you always have the nicest things to say. Cindy is absolutely beautiful. I got home yesterday. Cindy played with me. She came up with me. She literally put herself in my stomach and stared at me for about a half an hour straight. It was the cutest thing I've ever seen. Then she nestled herself between my arm and my ribs, and she slept with me until 7 o'clock this morning. She woke me up this morning, walked me to the front door of the house, and then poof, she brought me back a lizard head, which I was not very happy with, but that was a gift she has. So she's doing great. She's all kinds of happy and excited and catching little animals, bugs, flies, lizards, frogs. She's in little cat heaven. She even practiced cat yoga with me today. I do yoga, and every time I get into a downward-facing dog, she kisses me. Krishna Rao, hi, everyone. It's good to see you here. Krishna Rao. Rock and roll. Thanks, Mike. I, too, was one of tried the other training providers, but wasn't satisfied. Glad I'm here now. Well, rock and roll. All I care is that you get cloud hired. You know, life is cumulative. We're thrilled to have you, and we'll do anything we can to help you get hired. Chris Johnson, yes, glad you were here, rock and roll, and everybody else. Almighty Cloud hired, and feel free to ask questions so we can help. Omar Weaver says, hi guys, smash the like button. Yeah, please hit that like button, comment, subscribe. We want to give you lots of free content to help you in your career. Omar Weaver, congratulations again. So happy for you. Yes, we are thrilled and happy for Rob. Eddie Patrick, congratulations and cloud hired. You guys are being shy. Don't be shy. Ask some questions. AJ, really good to see you, Bob. And yes, and Bob, I remember when he announced, he said he was going to get some steak. I hope he got some really good steak there. I know AJ knows how to cook. I know he sure does. And I know I do. Although if you had it at my house, chances are you'd be getting some jerk spice on it, or it would be Greek cooked, because I only know how to cook Greek and Jamaican foods. Almighty, any advice on how to handle the first phone call from a recruiter? You're afraid you might not talk too much. Now, Al, great question. I know we probably addressed some of these things, but let's talk about it. When you get a call from a recruiter, you got to do a couple things. You got to interview them. Wait, interview them? Yes, interview them. And here's the reason. There are recruiters like Christina Marino at ITXO, Steve O'Reilly at ITXO. You know how great they are? I can literally call Christina Marino and say, Christina, it's Mike Gibbs. And she says, hey, Mike, how are you? And I say, I want a cloud architect job. And she'll say, what kind? And I'm going to say, Christina, I want one that's focused on the business, that really focuses on the healthcare industry. She'll say, Mike, let me call you back. She'll call some CXOs at healthcare organizations, and she'll say, Mike, I've set up 3 interviews with you. Ben. And it's not going to be some random interview. And then she's going to say, Mike, this hospital really needs this. I got that from their staff. They really need help with this problem. This company really needs help with this. So she's not going to send people on an interview if they're not the right candidate. And she knows the managers and can even prepare you for an interview, and a good recruiter can. Now let's talk about a bad recruiter. A bad recruiter just spams you and posts fake jobs that they don't even have and collects emails from lots of people. And then when they get a job posting, they just spam everybody. And they get a job description, which is 18 miles long, which is not the actual job description, and they don't know how to prepare you. So Al, I would take it like a sales call. Let's pretend you're a sales rep. Qualify the lead. Talk to them and say, hey, I'm Al. How are you? Talk to the recruiter and say, Al, I'm going to pretend you're a cloud architect, Al, because I know, let's assume you're a cloud architect, and say, look, I'm a cloud architect. I've got a big knowledge. And say, sales, let's pretend you had a previous experience in sales. I've got a lot of leadership. I've closed, let's say, whatever your quota was. Maybe you closed a $250 million quota in a channel, for example. And if that's the case, be like, I'm a sales executive with years of experience in sales and solving customer problems with whatever you sold. But make sure you plan on this, a cloud architect. Let them know about your executive presence, your leadership skills, your communication skills. Let them know about your extreme knowledge in cloud networking, and data centers. Let them know that you get along well with others. You're not afraid to present and talk to people and feel them out. Ask them questions about how long they've been recruiting, who they recruit for, how many people they've placed in the year. And Al, do that. And personally, Al, I think you need to get a little practice with some recruiters. And here's what I mean by this. So early in my career, I made the same tech mistakes that everybody did. I was in medicine and I wanted to go to tech. So I called the local training provider, which, you know what they gave me? A completely useless Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer certification. And a Microsoft Certified Professional certification. Why do I say it was completely useless? Because I applied for jobs and everybody laughed at me. So the next thing that I did, which was a mistake, is I called back the same certification provider and they said, you need a Cisco Certified Network Professional. So the good news is I locked myself in a room for 4 days, passed the Cisco Certified Network Associate, and then took a 10-day, $11,000 Cisco Certified Network Professional Bootcamp. And guess what? No employers cared at all. Then I took a Cisco Certified Design Associate certification and a Cisco Certified Design Professional. Now I had a master's degree. I'm an educated guy. And I've got 6 certifications, 3 of which professional. Employers don't care about associate cert, but often they like the professional ones. So, you know, I'm 6 certified. I sent out 5 resumes that went denied, 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 denied. And then a friend told me that I should speak to recruiters, and I was really excited. So I lived in Philly at the time, Al, and I figured I'd call the recruiter. I need practice, right? So, and I wouldn't mess it up. So I was terrified to call the recruiter. So I lived in Philly. My family's Greek. My family didn't speak English, so I had to translate Greek to English all the time. And I knew I couldn't go that far as California. So I called somebody in California as a practice recruiter. I learned a lot. I actually, of course, I sent the recruiter like a big gift because I felt guilty because I spent 45 minutes of his time and I knew he was never going to place me. I actually called 50 more recruiters. So Al, pretend you're a sales rep. Approach it like a sales call. You know what the product is? You. How do you sell yourself? As an energetic, enthusiastic, passionate person that loves technology, as a technically competent person, as someone with an expertise in communication skills, sales skills, leadership skills, as someone with some presence and some oomph. Not someone that's going to say, hi, my name is Mike, I'm a cloud architect. It's got to be, hi, I'm Mike, I'm a cloud architect, and I'm here to help you. I can help you because I've got this, and this, which is exactly what you need to get to this, and this. So, Al, you're going to be really successful because that's the right kind of question. Monitor what's going on. So, Al, if you can do it via video. If the person's leaning in, keep talking. If they get back in their chair, stop. If they cross their arms, they don't like it. Stop. Move on to something else. Read them. Are they smiling? Is it a real smile? Look, there's a fake one. Fake smile, real smile. If there's a real smile, you'll see some wrinkles around the eye. Unless the person had Botox, and then you're going to have a hard time reading their body language because the facial muscles get paralyzed. You'll get these weird, scary smiles. They might freak you out if you're body language reading expert, but then if you look at it and you know it's Botox, and you're like, okay, I get it. Now, normal people will never notice this, so focus on reading the room. People's hands crossed, open, leading in, leading out. Do that, Al, and you're going to do great. But truthfully, Al, just focus on your gut. You'll be awesome, Al. Thrilled to see you here. And please, ask your questions in the chat box. I'm completely here to help you with these things. Andrew Brown, the guy with the glasses. Yes, a lot of the times I think he has glasses on. Alex, hi. Thank you for that. Alex, we're so happy to have you here today. Thank you so much. Be Revelvo. Hi, I'm new to the program as of Friday. Brand new to tech, but have 15 years experience leading teams. What's the piece of advice for someone pursuing a new cloud career? Well, if you're in our program, it's going to be follow the program. And don't just follow it, I mean follow it. So I'll tell you which of our students are the most successful and which ones are not. The students that follow our program in order. And what do I mean by that? Every program and most assignments have directions on them. The people that follow the directions do really well. Now, the people in my program, if I think they need access to something, chances are I'll make a YouTube video or a special LinkedIn post that day to help solve a question that was answered in class. So please watch our YouTube videos and our LinkedIn posts. But really, it's about finding that first thing, that first assignment is that tell me about yourself video. And those planning videos, you got to do them. And my team or I will give you feedback on everything. My team will do it, but they may ask me along the way to make sure it's the best feedback. Follow their guidance. Now, whether the SEALs have a swim buddy, some people in other units get a battle buddy, build yourself a swim buddy or a dive buddy. What do I mean by that? Find somebody in the class. Work together with them. Work together with them. So can you keep that in the back of your mind? Work together with them. Ask the right questions. Practice interview each other along the way. Do projects along the way. Build the cloud today. But be Ravello, first, follow the course in order. Now, the other thing is it used to be in the course, but my team likes a little more structure than me. See, my mind is full of stuff all over the where, and it connects the dots in very weird, strange ways. If I told you I didn't use a calendar for 25 years of my career, and I couldn't remember which country I had to be in dramatically, I don't even know how and who it was meeting through, but that was the way my brain worked. It's wired a little differently than normal people. So find somebody that complements you. For example, Chris and I, similar in what we care about. We all want our students to succeed and we collaborate. But personality types were opposite, and that's great because I need that. Why? Because Chris is an analytical mind. He's got a function and a process. And here's the vision. Can't we do these 42 things today? And it really takes, the discipline from someone like Chris, who I appreciate so much, and me, who's got ideas, and him to be like, no, that's crazy. When he comes up ideas, and I'm like, yeah. So you need someone, so find someone that complements you, not a yes man or a yes woman, someone that can truly complement you. So, for example, my wife can do calculus in her head. I don't write a check. That's her job because, she's good at that. I focus on vision and strategy. She focuses on math, although she's the best internal medicine person I've ever met in my life. And she's 10 times smarter than me too, but that's neither here nor there either. Thankfully, I got a really smart wife that guides me. Very, very helpful. But so really the key is that. So follow the course in order. Now, I'm also going to tell you to come to class. Come to class and pay attention to class. And in classes, that's where we do the really heavy duty stuff, which is going to be great. But also, it used to be in the course, it used to be called weekly group coaching calls. Now it's previous class recordings or whatever it's called in the course. You'll receive that welcome email and it's in there. Read that email and follow those classes. And don't just do the modern classes. Go back to the old classes too. We've got probably 1,000 hours of classes in there, 500 to 1,000 hours of classes. Watch them. Watch them. And don't get hands-on until the tech with the labs until you truly understand what you're doing. And here's why. Just configuring stuff is kind of meaningless because we don't do that as a cloud architect anyway. But if you know what everything is and you truly understand it, and then you can configure it for some people that can reinforce things, but not for others. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind as well. So follow the program, come to class. You get stuck, ask questions in class, send a Slack message to one of the Slack channels and somebody will help you. Find a swim buddy or a battle buddy. Follow it line by line, complete it. Read the required reading in the course. And I can tell you when people don't read it. Somebody sends an email and says, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. I don't understand this. And we say, have you checked the required reading? What required reading? So focus and really, really pay attention. I want you all hired. I want you doing great. I want you having great careers. Tomorrow night, you're going to hear from Bob. But, one day you heard from Daniel Bosu, who's the kid I wish I always had as my son. Love the kid. Highly motivated. First tech job, 21 years old as a cloud architect. And it's not like he had 50 years of tech experience either. None. But he was so great. Or Dale Rabat, who's going to come visit me in Florida in 2 weeks, is a cloud security architect. Before he met us, he was an EMT. And now he's a fantastic cloud security architect. And they all did it, and you can. But I like to say your career is war. Fight, and fight harder. Really push the limits. Add some love, passion, and energy and oomph. And when you get done in your cloud hard, be Rebello, I'm going to be really excited. It's going to make me super happy. You'll be happy, and it'll change your life. So please be Rebello. Focus. Let's get you cloud hired. If you guys have questions, please ask it in the chat box. I want the world cloud hired. Alan Iverson, are you only teaching AWS? Of course not. If you only AWS, if you only know AWS, you'll be on the unemployment line. 87% of customers are on 2 or more clouds. 97% want to be. So if you only know AWS, again, you'll be unemployable for the following reasons. And here's what the certification providers don't get or don't teach. Here's the thing. In a real architecture, you're not going to be using half of those things that are in certifications. So if I need security, I'm not going to be using AWS WAF, and I can't use AWS WAF because it doesn't adapt in real time to threats. Meaning if I get a Palo Alto firewall for security, or a Cisco firewall, or a Fortinet firewall, or a Checkpoint firewall, a next generation firewall, and we start to get attacked, the firewall is attacks back, and poof, it solves the problem. With WAF, maybe we'll notice we're hacked, maybe we won't. So that's the key. Why we can't use these things. So we can't use stuff like that. Now, also, 87% of customers are multi-cloud. So things like DynamoDB, Amazon Aurora, SQS, they're all going to be replaced by vendor-neutral things, such as MongoDB, Apache Cassandra, or Apache Kafka, things that run on all clouds at the same time. So, and then we got into these proprietary systems where the cloud providers have something they could develop themselves. Something. Well, guess what? That something is kind of like a Swiss Army knife. Have you ever had a Swiss Army knife where it's got a screwdriver that's not real good, a bottle opener that's kind of broken, a knife that, maybe will cut like your apple, but it's not going to cut through a tree? And when you go to independent parties, you can get the best, biggest industrial things where that's all they focus. So now think of, what's his name? Usain Bolt, fastest guy in the world. Love watching him run. It's incredible. It's like magic. I love watching Simone Biles, when she was doing gymnastics, she was the best. I love watching Michael Phelps swim. And you know what they were? They're not jack of all trades and master of none like a Swiss Army knife. There's something special, special, special. So a buddy of mine likes knives. He's a survivalist. He's got this great Kabar knife. He makes little wooden sticks out of it. He has a compass hidden in there somewhere. But, it's hard. And, he can grind stones with it, chop through trees and an emergency survival information. It's not a Swiss Army knife. It's a knife, and a knife. So I want you to be sharp. In your career, I want you to be the tip of the spear, the best in the world. So no, we will never only teach AWS. I leave that for the certification providers. They teach what they do. 6 months later, a year later, the students come to me and I get them cloud hard by completely retraining them. So no, it's never about just AWS. All my students learn AWS. All my students learn Azure. All my students learn Google to some degree. All my students, Allen Iverson, design and build their own cloud from scratch. Because that way, when everybody else is like, I know AWS like a little child, they're like, I know how to create AWS from scratch. And all my students do it. Every single one of my students in a cloud architect or cloud engineer program builds a cloud from scratch in our data center. And that way, when someone else is like, I did a Git project, and like, why are you telling me you're a Git project? We're an architect. Architects don't do Git. Or when someone talks about conversion, virtual machines, they're like, why are you doing that? You're an architect. You design, present, and sell. So no, we teach not just the tech. And if you just study the tech, you're still not going to be hireable. Because if you're an architect, for example, you have to solve customers' problems. You have to have the business acumen to understand their business, because you can't solve business problems if you don't have that. What else must you do? You must have the leadership skills to lead a team of 50 cloud engineers who's going to build the thing and do proof of concepts with you. You're going to have the sales skills to sell it to the customer. And after you interface with the customer and find out what they want, you know what? Guess what? You're going to have to go to your company, your CEO, your executive vice president, and say, I need these 20 people to help sign a problem. So those are the kind of things that you're dealing with as well. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind as well. And then you're going to have to learn how to present in audiences. As a real cloud architect, you're going to be writing thought leadership documents. You're going to be published in magazine articles. I think I've been in 60 magazine articles in the last year. That's normal for really good architects. It's just there. So you'll be writing thought leadership documents. You'll be writing white papers for your company to shape an industry's vision. And yes, you still need to know the tech, but what tech is it, Allen Iverson? It's just not the cloud tech. So imagine this. Allen, I want you to move a company's data center to the cloud. And you say, okay, Mike, now imagine this. If you're not trained in the data center and the network, how can you move it? You don't even know what it is. So, you have to understand the following. You must know, and I'll give you the network skills, the data center skills, and then from there, I can even give you the cloud skills. But first, you need to know BGP, IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, route aggregation, minimum on the networking side. Now, reality is, You probably should know an interior gateway protocol such as OSPF or intermediate systems to intermediate systems. Beyond that, you need to know switching, VLAN, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, port channel, ether channel, link aggregation group kind of stuff. And then you need to know how and when to select the right kind of WAN technologies to connect to the cloud. Whether it's a VPN, a private line equivalent, such as direct connection, express route, whatever you feel like calling it. It's not exactly a private line, but it's close to it. Who knows? Maybe you want to use Ethernet over MPLS for certain remote access environments. Or maybe you want to use software-defined networking or a SASE WAN. So you have to be able to know when to use that. Now, you're going to be dealing with NAT, and that's not like just a silly AWS Advanced Networking course, which is out to the internet. No, we're talking one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, port address translation, and all of it. NAT overload, you're going to have to learn those things. And then you're going to need a rock-solid knowledge of DNS, DHCP, ARP, proxy ARP, etc. Now, in the data center, you're going to need to know servers and server virtualization, containers and container orchestration, all your storage area network, because you're not migrating storage by thinking S3. You need to understand how do these storage area network work. What's the weaknesses with them? Like with block storage, it's really, really, really slow. In your certification, they say it's fast, but if you go to Best Buy right now, or any local computer store, or Amazon, and buy a Samsung 980 Pro for about $100, guess what you can get? 1,000,000 IOPS. And then you get an IO1 device on AWS, which is fast with 16K IOPS. Or their fastest, IO2, which is thousands of dollars a month, which gives you what? 250,000 IOPS. So again, that $100 drive at Best Buy is 4 times faster. Now in a data center, you're dealing with RAID arrays that have 8 of these things, and a RAID 0 and another 8 and a RAID 0 for RAID 10. So you got to have to work around how the bad cloud storage isn't to get speed. What about file storage? What kind of file storage? Are you setting up for Windows or Linux? Kind of, hey, there's that. Keep that in the back of your mind. Now, you're an architect, so you want to deal with what kind of applications change the business. Do you use a CRM application, an ERP application, for example? What kind of special custom applications are in the industry? Is it healthcare? Is it CPOE systems, for example, an EHR system? You got to know the applications the industry uses to tune and peak their business performance. So that's kind of critical as well. So kind of keep those things in the back of your mind. Now, in addition to those things, what else is going on, for example? Databases. You need to have a good knowledge of SQL databases and NoSQL databases. And the reality in today's world, you can't use DynamoDB. You can't use Amazon Aurora because you're using multi-clouds. Now, maybe you put an Oracle database in both clouds, or a Microsoft SQL database in both clouds, or MySQL in both clouds, or maybe you've got a lot of write traffic, and you need a NoSQL database, so you use Apache Cassandra. Maybe you got a lot of read traffic, so you decide to use MongoDB. So again, it's knowing what tech is going to solve your customer's problems. Now let's get into the security stuff, right? I can't secure an enterprise with WAF and Shield. I need real robust security. My customers would fire me in a second if I proposed that. So what next generation firewalls do I need? Now, in the data center, next generation firewalls are high availability devices, but I can't go to the cloud provider and rack and stack a Palo Alto firewall or 2 of them. So in the cloud, I got to get them from a marketplace. Now, if I'm going to use 2 clouds, I need to use the same firewalls in both clouds to keep my security policies the same. So what kind of load balancers do I need to front end my next generation firewalls? What do I deal with my IDS IPS systems? What am I demilitarized? And it's got to look like. And these are the kind of things that are related to the tech. Now, that's just the tech piece. Now, you need to understand the same equivalent service in the cloud. And you got to remember, an architect is not like an engineer. The engineer, for example, is configuring this stuff. The architect, or even the high-end engineerings, are going to be performance tuning this stuff. And you can't tune or design what you don't understand. So that's why you need to have this much. So then the next part of the architect piece is putting the pieces together so they're a system that works. I mean, if you try to put a round peg in a square hole, it doesn't fit. So you got to make sure that you use the right pieces. And how do you integrate the pieces? So when you take 5 pieces of technology, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Now you also, Alan, and I love the name from basketball, you also need to think of the following. When you introduce a new technology, what does that do to the workflow of the employees? How does that affect the people, the processes, and the technology in that organization? So again, you need training on that. So those are the things why we will never just teach AWS. Because if we just teach AWS, like the certification providers, the people will be sitting in the unemployment line. And I get people cloud hired every day. Yesterday, I had one person that got cloud hired. It's a great job in England. Friday, 2 of my students in the US got hired, and I'm so excited. And I love that because we never will teach just AWS. We'll teach everything somebody needs to know to build their entire career, from how to interview, what needs to be on their resume, how to earn more money and negotiate a higher salary, how to deliver a killer presentation, how to build an ROI model. Everything. That's what we teach. Never just the tech. Great question, and I'm so glad you asked. Bear with my team. There's a lot of messages they're going to get a question. While we're at it, please remember to register for the completely free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate Bootcamp. We'll start out at the basics, like Cloud Practitioner level or more basic, and we'll go almost to the way of the Certified Solution Architect Professional. And it's free. My name is Mike. Your interviews went surprisingly well, solely based on your interview training videos, even though you're very new to Cloud Architect program. What do you think about this? Money, Mike, I'm super excited. You went on an interview and it went great. Fantastic. I hope you get cloud hired. And if you do, guess what? We'll keep training you along the way so you'll be good at the job. But I'm thrilled. Money, Mike, this is wonderful. That's why I put so many of these interview videos that are out there, because I want you all hired. And I, interviewed 6,000 people at this point. I know it sounds crazy, but it's over 6,000 people. And I know the difference between what it takes to get hired versus what it takes to actually get past the certification. And I knew most people thought certification training was going to help them, but it won't. So, it helps get you the interview, but interview training helps you pass the interview, and competency training. So, my name is Mike. I'm so happy it went well, and great. Let me know in class how it went, and let's see what we need to do for the next one. Eric Fernandez, I'm an active duty Marine. Hoorah! And thank you for your service. Appreciate it. Are your programs in AWS Bootcamp synonymous? You want to learn in the evenings before work? No, they're not even close, Eric. So I'd like to put it into this way. Our AWS Bootcamps are certification training, which is kind of like a quarter of basic training. Now, our training program is the elite of the elite, which teaches you everything. So if you wanted to become a Raider or Force Recon or MARSOC, name keeps changing. The last time I was over at the Blackwater facility, they were MARSOC, but I think the name changed. You need special training. So when we're kind of dealing with the careers we create, like the architect, we're dealing with like SEAL level people or MARSOC level people, truly the best of the best. And in our training program, we put our people into the paces. For example, last Friday, we were interviewing our people under stress. Why under stress? You get it. Train the way you fight. You're an active duty Marine. Again, thank you for your service. So we train our people in the most ways. Now, in certification, it's really about the name of a service. How do you configure that service? In our program, it's about everything that it takes. Now, we have a special program for veterans, and there's a coupon code for 50% off. The coupon code is HEROES. It's a special program that I created for the veterans community. And here's why. Those of us with a tactical background have lived a different life. I might say to you, Eric, I need you to be here at this time, and you're going to say, Roger that, and be there. Now, in the civilian world, if I said that to team, anybody on my team, anybody than Alonzo, they'd look at me like I have 4 heads. And they'd be like, huh? So, for example, when you're coming from the military, the command and control leadership needs to be changed to one of the very, 6 or 7 forms of civilian leadership that's appropriate based upon the circumstances. Additionally, those of us that have had stressful environments in our lives, you can only see a certain number of things without it affecting you. So we actually have a big module, and we have it for everybody, but we have a big module on emotional intelligence, and we have a lot of things that we do to kind of teach the mind to calm down. Now, I know tactical breathing taught by Colonel Grossman in the Army, and SEALs are using box breathing, tactical breathing as well. We use a lot of different forms of breathing exercise to calm down. I hired a meditation consultant to try and address this. I bring in some cognitive behavior therapy to help people manage with the post-traumatic stress that we all have. Because the reality is you can't be in these kinds of environments without developing something, So there is that which we cover. But then we talk about really give you the elite skills. So what I did in my life, I have about $250,000 education on business acumen, communication skills, leadership skills, sales skills, CXO relevancy. And that's the stuff, Eric, that gets you the most elite job. So we teach all of that. In fact, I took my whole leadership program, the Tech Career Accelerator program, and we put that in our military program as well to make sure the military leadership, or anybody coming from me, whether they're enlisted or officers, gets the right leadership training for the civilian world. Now, in addition to that, we have all the business skills you need, all the leadership skills, all the sales skills, all the presentation skills, and all the tech skills, which include the network skills, the data center skills, the architecture skills, as well as the cloud and non-cloud technologies. And of course, we also teach multiple clouds. So Eric Fernandez, no, they're not the same thing. Certifications on their own are good enough to get you an interview. But our training program will get you hired, and not just hired well. Our average graduate that takes our course earns between 120 and 287 per year. That was the range in the last year of the salaries our students have gotten. Just this week, we had a couple salaries over $200,000 a year, all for a course which we charge $700 for our civilian program. And our military program with the coupon code is $750. And why is it more? We've got special interview training in that program to give our veterans extra help, special leadership training, special emotional intelligence training. And I brought in some of the best people I knew to help do it because I want you all to receive the best. Eric Fernandez, thank you for your service. Hoorah! We appreciate everything you've done for us. Everyone at my team honors you. We salute you, and we're grateful for your service. Thank you. I bow to you. Keep doing what you're doing, and we would be honored, privileged, and love to train you. Thank you again for everything you've done for us. Chris, we can go to the next one. Anakin, how do you know which people you need and how many? Well, for what, Anakin? That's the first thing. But in generally speaking, we need to have the professional judgment to determine. And when in doubt, error with more than you need, because you always need more than you think you do. If you think you need 2, you probably need 4. So what you're going to have to do is estimate. Now, there's a term that I don't like to use. It's called swag, scientific, wild, a guess. I won't say the other term. And it's always going to be a swag of some form. Like that. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Now, if you don't know, you're going to have to ask others that know. And I'm totally okay with that. And I ask others that know all the time too. So what I learned as an architect with lots of years experience, there's never a one-man team. I hate to say it, there's no John Rambos out there. It's always a team. So if you don't know, build a team. Get your swim buddy, your battle buddy. You need a buddy with you. You have no choice, Anakin. So, I got somebody I call. When I've got elite business things, I call my friend Frances. She always seems to know how to guide me, and she's done it for 20 years. When it was really tech stuff, I'd call my buddy Moses. He's like one of the best techies I've ever met in my life, and he loves the tech. When it's networking stuff, I'd call my buddy Nagaraj in Bangalore, and he calls me because we've been helping each other with networking things forever. I got this guy, Angelo, that I called for microservices things because he's great. So the point is always, always, always build a team. Treat the team with honor, integrity, and respect. And when they ask you for help, wow, you help them, and they help you back. But, if you design an architecture, how do you know how many people are going to do it? Well, 2 things. When it comes to writing the statement of work, it's not just going to be the architect. So let's walk through the process, Anakin, in a real organization. So, for example, I was the lead architect for a voice project at Cisco, one of the biggest banks in the world. And it was voice, data, and video. It was a really cool project. I loved it. So there's that. So I designed it. Now, when it comes time to building it, I don't know how many people were needed to how to build it in those days. So what I did, I called the service delivery executive in the organization. They were a director level person that have lots of experience in determining how many people. And I said to them, look, this is all the stuff that needs to happen. And then we collaborated with some engineers in post-sales engineering, the service delivery executive, and together we created a statement of work that was going to determine what needed to be done. A project manager built a project plan because, again, that's their job, not my job. And I would determine the technology solution. So it's really about working in a team, getting the people together, getting the correct people there, and getting the right help. So Anakin, this is going to take years, years, and years. And I'm going to tell you, I don't ever build a statement of work on my own. I got a buddy of mine, his name is Ian, Jamaican guy, he's a warrior, he's over in the UK, was one of my fresh students. Obviously, he's caught hard. He's like, Mike, I'm writing statements of work. What do you think I need on it? One day. And it was kind of funny. It was like we were all collaborating and sharing statements of work, obviously de-identified because we never talk about the top secret information, but it's part of it. So build a team. There are no Rambos out there, and I really want to make that clear. It's all about a team. So build a team. Find some implementation engineers. They know. So if you're an architect, ask somebody that does the implementation because it's different. You'll be good to go. But Anakin, I think maybe we should have a class coming real soon on planning implementations and collaborations. So I got a really cool class coming up in a couple weeks on situational awareness as it pertains to interviewing. It's going to be really, really fun. We're also going to dispel some myths for you guys because that's critical to know how to read the room, how to really see what's going on versus what you see versus reality. We're going to have a lot of fun with that one. But let's get a class where we start collaborating on building and project plans. I want a great project manager work together with us and help teach that class. Alonzo's name is written all over it. What's your view on VMware certification? Well, I want to make it really clear. When a 12-year-old hacks into a highly secure environment with 0 degrees and 0 certifications, they don't get stopped because they're not certified. They do it because they're competent and capable. Look, I've got multiple degrees, multiple certifications. Nobody cares. I'm going to tell you right now, no one cares. You know what they care about? Can you do the job? Are you technically competent? Are you energetic, enthusiastic, and passionate about the work? Can they count on you? Will you go above and beyond? And are you a team player? Are you a negative Nelly, or we raise the energy of the room? When life gets hard, and trust me, it's always hard. The only D-Day was probably yesterday. And yes, I stole that expression from some other people. Some people here know where they took it from. But the point is, it's going to be hard. And will you rise to the occasion? Well, let's be fair. Nobody rises to the occasion. We fall to the level of training under stress. But that's neither here nor there. But the point is yeah, VMware's got a certification. It's good. But what and where and why? So, let's think about this. If you were going to leave your house, you got to, and you were going to go on a mission, what do you need on that mission? What's your loadout? So if you want to work for VMware, yeah, this might be a good certification. If you wanted to be a cloud security architect, then no, this is not useful in your things. You want something heavy duty related to security. Now, what if you wanted to do something in networking? Again, this is not going to help you. You want a CCNP. Heck, a CCIE is good. So the real point is, what do you want to do? Then you determine the equipment and gear and certifications you need. So let's look at it the exact opposite. Ike E-Raid, could you tell me what your goal is? And then I can tell you what you can need to get there. So I don't like to say jump on an airplane until I know the destination. Tell me where your destination is, and I'll build you a career plan or a flight plan. So my view on certifications is they're just pieces of paper. Now, the certifications can tell a story. Like, let's say you know a lot about something and you're certified. That's better. But certifications in and of their own, I don't see a point. So what I can tell you is most certifications are a piece of paper that if your house is cold, you can heat and warm it up for a couple minutes with a piece of paper. But I can tell you is the right certifications match with the right skills, the certification will get you the interview. No certification will ever get you hired, ever. But a good certification can get you an interview. And the skills, your attitude, your energy, your enthusiasm, your passion, your competency, you're willing to go above and beyond. That's what gets you hired. So if you can give me the exact opposite, here's what I'd like to do, how can I get there? Then I will help you get there. Let's mention on Thursday, this week, we're going to have our completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. It's biased on cloud architects, but if you want to be a cloud engineer, you can ask me questions. It'll be on Zoom, real Zoom. And why do we do it on Zoom? So you can ask me questions live and we can have a face-to-face conversation. We will cover the following: how to leverage your life experience. Whether you practice medicine or you're a warrior, that experience is highly valuable in your new career. Whether we will tell you how to bypass HR so you don't get auto-rejected. We will tell you what kind of recruiters and why you need them and how they can help you. We'll tell you exactly what employers want. We'll tell you what needs to be on your resume so you can get those interviews. And we're going to do it all free. We'll talk for an hour, a little more. You can ask us questions for about an hour or so. And if you've got leftover questions after that, you can call our corporate number and somebody from our team will help you. We want to get you all cloud hired. So my view on certifications are they can help you get your goal, but you need to know the goal first. Thanks for the question. Let me know your goals, and I can help you get there. Your dream is a remote job, which is why you'll enroll in the cloud engineering program. Okay, well, that will get you there. So if you want to get a cloud engineering take my cloud engineering program. We will guide you on the right things and stay away from VMware certifications. You'll get cloud hired. Getting a remote job is no big deal. How no big deal is it? Well, I've been working remote since 2001. Now, I did go work in the office from 2003 for approximately 2 years, which I hated going to the office because it was New York City and I didn't enjoy the train, the commute, the traffic, the congestion, or any of it. But, it's there. But you know what? I got the right training and I got there. So the question is, we have everything you need in there. What we'll teach you in that program is as follows: the networking and data center technologies that you need to do to get hired. In addition to the networking and data center technologies which you need, we will cover the skills that'll get you hired. We will teach you Terraform. We will teach you cloud. We will teach you Python, which is a cloud engineer skill, not an architect skill, but a cloud engineer skill. Boy, there's an eyelash in my eye. Sorry, guys. We will teach you Linux, and we'll make sure that you have all the skills to get hired. And sure, you'll get 2 or 3 certifications along the way, but the certifications are not anything. They're not anything. Hi, I'm certified. Do you know how many certified people I interviewed before I started this program? Well, let's be fair, I did 2 things. In my career, I interviewed 5,000 people. 5,000. Of the 5,000, I hired 10 of them. That's how hard it is to find a qualified person. Now, some of them never worked in tech before, and I never even cared it at all, ever. So there's that. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Next, I interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people, and not a single one knew how to do anything. Because even the certifications are a name of a proprietary service and how to configure the proprietary service. And the engineers need to know more. See, the difference between a cloud admin, which is certification, and a cloud engineer is as follows. Certification teaches you how to configure. Right, great, okay? But what are you configuring? Why are you configuring it? How are you tuning it? How are you optimizing the engine? That's what we're going to teach you. Anybody can configure. How do I know this? I taught my friend's beautiful 8-year-old little girl how to configure the cloud. She's the cutest thing I've ever seen. She clicked 3 buttons and like a little girl, she says, EC2. She smiled, the big smile. She was happy. She set up an S3 bucket and she says, S3. She was so cute. I loved watching her. We're going to teach you how to go from that certification level to the reality of getting hired. And we'll get you hired. I was even asked to support a client in Japan for a year. So I called my best friend in India and said, would you like the job? And he said, I would, but I just took a job for AWS. He was my battle buddy, my CCIE lab buddy, and we've been friends for 25 years. We'll get you hired. Chris, let's go to the next one. Adrian, as someone coming from a background without much money, how do you ask for a starting bonus so you can afford executive-looking suits before you start? You don't. You don't. So I came from not a lot of money, Anakin. Not at all. In fact, I spent $40,000 looking for my Cisco certified internet expert. And I didn't have it. And I financed it. And it was okay. So, you may have to put a suit on a credit card to get the interview you need. It's an investment in your future. People take student loans. Now, I'm not saying you need student loans, but I'm saying if you have to buy a suit and it's $1,500 for your first job, get away with it. You have to. Because if you don't have it, you're not going to be there. So sometimes you just have to invest in your future. sometimes at the cost of doing business. And that's why I don't charge $50,000 for my course. I only charge for $1,000 because I'm really out there trying to help the world, charging almost a little more than just our cost, just so we can run the business and pay our employees. But, I didn't come from money either. And look at the people who've gotten hired this year. We had one 21-year-old, I didn't know, but he told us he was homeless once he got cloud hired at one point. And now I see him. And there's a video of him. He's the kid I always wanted, Daniel. Now he's buying suits. Delroy is another student, a friend. He's going to come to visit me in 2 weeks. He's going to help me with the situational awareness class. And when he gets here in this class, I met him. He didn't have any money. Now he's got plenty of money because he's become a great architect. So if you know you're hired, you just buy a suit. Now, if you have to borrow somebody's suit for an interview, do the best you can. And sometimes you have no choice. But once you get hired, once somebody gives you an offer for $150,000 a year, well, then go buy a suit or two. Pay it back. It's going to be real easy to pay back with a good income. But sometimes you have to do it. Look at Delroy Batt. He didn't even have a cloud certification. He never even applied for a cloud security architect job, and he had 3 of them from us. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. I just want you hired, but sometimes you have to invest in your future, and sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it's scary. But when you know you're ready, just do it. Just do it. You'll get there. And I know how scared that sounds because I've done it before, but make sure the opportunity is worth it. See if you can borrow them. You don't always have to spend $1,500 for a suit. You really don't. There are organizations that make inexpensive suits. I know there's a program for warriors where you can get like 3 suits for your job for like $400 or $500, and they're nicely made suits. And if that's not your background, there's still always a place you can go. There's stores that have less expensive things. And on the first suit, you just need to get the job. And when you get the job and you have the salary, it'll be easier to buy them. So I started out with much less expensive suits. I bought more expensive suits when it became clear that I had to, because my manager looked at me like I had 4 heads. When somebody said to me, Mike, can you kick it up a notch in terms of the dress? I did so. But the point is, Anakin, you'll be okay. Borrow some, buy, figure out a way to get your first one as inexpensively as possible. And when you get hired, buy some, because you're going to have lots of money to do so. And I know it sounds terrible, but you have to have the tools for the job. You just can't go without your uniform. You just need your uniform, and that's the uniform. Eric Fernandez, you're the real deal, man. Eric Fernandez, thank you. And Eric Fernandez, again, thank you for your service. You have no idea how much some of us like me appreciate it. Almighty, cloud hired. Zareeb, you just joined and you're a CS student with a bachelor's. Can you briefly explain what cloud computers do? Absolutely. Here's the thing, Con. A cloud computer is no different than the computer you're sitting at right next to you. Other than it's a server as to say your notebook. Only difference between a cloud computer and the one sitting in front of you is the one sitting in front of you is a physical computer. The one sitting somebody else is a computer inside of a computer, and you're renting it. So cloud computing is you're renting space on somebody else's computer. That's it. You're renting space on their hard drive. They're renting space on their computer. You're renting space on the network. It's nothing more than somebody else's equipment, their network and data center that they virtualize and resell it to you. So think of it as like going to a hotel room versus buying a house. The computer you buy for yourself is the house. The hotel room is if you rented it to somebody else for the weekend. That's all cloud computing is somebody else's computer that you're renting. Great question, great question, great question. Victor. Hi, Mike. I will be interested in your cloud architect program, and I'm studying for CCNA. What are your thoughts? You have said network and data center is virtualized. Your thoughts? Are you asking me about a certification, Victor, or are you asking me learning how to be an architect? Because they're not the same. I will tell you, if the knowledge you need to be a cloud architect is somewhere between the CCNA and the CCIE. And it's not about your certification, it's about the knowledge. So in the CCNA, they teach you how to configure things, not how to design them and not how they work. It's an admin job. It's a junior level thing. So it's how to configure. So how to configure is not how to do things. So it's more about the concept of what you need to do and why you need to do it. So let's say this. Eric was here. Eric's a Marine, or a Marine's a rifleman. So, if a rifleman pulls the trigger and hits a target 15 meters in front of them, it's their aim. If they're 1,000 meters away, they have to calculate the humidity. They have to calculate the temperature. They have to calculate the wind velocity. They have to take the cosine of the angle and the direction the wind is coming. They have to calculate the bullet that's spinning as far as spin drift. They also have to calculate the Coriolis effect of the earth spinning, and a few other calculations go into that, not just the configuration of pulling the trigger. So why did I say that? As the architect, you need to plan it from the end to the end. And what's in that certification is the name of the service and how to configure it. Look, I think the CCNA is a good intro to networking, and it's 10 times better than the AWS Advanced Networking, but again, it's just a certification. You need knowledge and not pieces of paper. Knowledge, knowledge, knowledge. So think about it this way. Certifications are the name of the service and how to configure that. As an architect, you need to learn how to design. Not the same. So Victor, there are no certifications that will ever prepare you to be an architect. I'm going to say it again. There are no certifications that will ever prepare you to be an architect. But there are certain certifications that will help you get an interview. And the CCNA may help you get an interview. The CCNP will definitely help you get an interview, but it's still not going to teach you the tech. You need networking training, which is not certification training. They're not the same. One is an artificial environment. Plus, the CCNA is only Cisco. Is the world only Cisco? No, I wish it was. I spent a decade at Cisco. I was lead architect at Cisco, and I love Cisco. And anything John Chambers would have asked, I would have done it because I loved Cisco so much when he was there. But it's not just Cisco routers. It's not just Cisco networks. There's Juniper networks. Palo Alto's got routers and switches. Lots of people have a lot of tech, and you need to know how the things work, not how to configure them. So if your job is to be a cloud admin, sure, it'll be helpful. If your job is to be a cloud architect, you need to know design. There is no design training in the CCNA. None. We will teach you how to design it. And that's why people don't get certification. They want to do certification, which is the name of the service and how to configure it. But they want a job where they're designing, presenting, and selling. So it's a skills mismatch. If you want to fly an airplane, guess what you don't do? You don't learn how to be an airplane mechanic. You learn how to fly a plane. If you want to be a doctor, you don't learn how to become a nurse. And certifications are pieces of it. But pieces of it, all it's going to get you is a piece of paper. So studying for the CCNA for knowledge is great. But then you're studying networking. You're not studying the CCNA. You're studying networking. Study BGP. It's not covered in the CCNA. Study IP addressing, subnetting, and supernetting planning. The supernet address planning is not covered in the CCNA. How to subnet is. Determine the WAN technologies, and they don't cover that enough in the CCNA. Not even close. Now, they do cover a little bit of spanning tree and rapid spanning tree and link aggregation groups. That they do cover and well. They do a good job of ARP and proxy ARP and DNS and DHP in there, which they do cover very well. But the design piece is the piece that's missing. The design is what architects do. So an architect doesn't use a hammer, a screwdriver, or nails. They design a hotel. So when you're training certifications, you're learning how to use a hammer. When you're training to design a hotel or something, you're training for the whole system, the whole piece. So it can be part of your training, Victor. Consider the CCNP and the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional about 15 to 20% of what you need. It's the other 80% that you need training in. Because as an architect, you're going to design and present a $200 million solution to somebody. $200 million, easily. And guess what? You got to convince them they need it. You got to sell it to them. You got to build a business case. Nobody buys tech because they like it. None of that's in CERT. So, Victor, identify the job you want. Get the right training. The right training like ours will teach you everything in its training. You're not going to be wasting time on certifications. Well, you have to do 2 certifications. And I still love the CCNA, and that's why I took a free CCNA course. But I like it. I love it. But still, make sure you're getting the knowledge piece. Maybe skip the CCNA. Maybe get the knowledge and do the CCNP. And then, poof, when you're done that, get an AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, knock that out. And then learn how to design, present, and sell, and you're going to get hired. But don't think certifications are your path. It's the tech, the knowledge. How do you put the pieces together? So certifications are kind of like, how do you paint your house? Where I want you to know how to design the house. That's the difference between the architect and the hands-on tech professional. Great question. But yes, learning networking is key, but more than what's covered in the certification. Rock and roll. So I've been wanting to ask about job requirements. The description seemed to suggest a lot of coding, tech knowledge, and experience. What level of coding and program do you need as architect? Absolutely zero. So rock and roll. Here's the funny thing: I've been an architect now for over 25 years. I have never coded anything. Wait, that's not true. One time I got sent to learn how to write a bash shell script and expect to log in and out of a router. By the time I got home, I was hugged by the management team and said, "I'm so sorry we sent you to learn the code. We had a massive outage and lost millions and millions of dollars." I am so happy to hear. So in the last year, we've graduated, and by graduated, gotten hired close to 150 architects at my last estimation based upon the number of people that are coming in. I've asked all of them, have you ever done any configuring hands-on work? And they said, never. Have you ever done any coding? Never. They never touched the tech. Never touched the tech. Engineers touch the tech. So what's going on? And I'm going to read you something from the actual true job description. And here's where the job description came from. The people that hire the cloud architects, the decision makers, not the HR people. But before I want to do that, I want to talk about the actual HR problem so you truly understand what's going on. What's going on? When you're dealing with the following, a job that's designed, presented. So we see ridiculous job descriptions. In fact, I drink 3 drinks per year. And if I drink, either I saw a James Bond movie and I get a vodka martini shaken but not stirred because it feels cool to me. Or the reality is I have a shot of Macallan 25 with my buddies. And literally speaking, 3 or 4 times per year, we would get on a WebEx call and we would actually read some of these job descriptions and say, and I've been an architect for decades, you've been an architect for decades, have you ever done any of this? And we'd all laugh and say no. Good news for everybody, and here's why. If I told you that the average application at a good company gets 5,000 applications for a single job, 5,000 for a single position. Now, how does an HR person that doesn't know your skill judge you? Well, they can't. They can't determine if you're good. So what do they look for? 10 Olympic gold medals, 50 years experience in this career, and this career. And in the end, what do they get? What do hiring managers like me get after HR filters these people in? Hi, could you tell me how I would connect how I would use LoadShare across 2 direct connections without getting out of order packets? And they say, I'm certified. In fact, I made a video on this. What we really need is people that know how to do the job. A breacher, a sniper, different jobs, different training. An architect and an engineer, different jobs and different training. So the good news is for all of you out there, Gartner, who's probably the best technology that's out there that really goes and evaluates things, they actually ask CIOs, what do you want? Now, the CIO is your boss. I'm going to say it again. The boss is telling you. It's published in CIO magazine, and my team will pop the link to this article for you. And I'm going to tell you the job of an architect, there's no coding ever. There's no configuring, most cases for most architects ever. There's no hands-on for architects ever. We design it, present it, sell it. No touching the tech. So the good news is Gartner started looking at these silly descriptions, and they said, that's not an architect. So what did they do? They interviewed chief information officers, your boss, and said, what do you want in a cloud architect? And here's what they said. The 3 main high-level responsibilities of a cloud architect are to lead the cultural change for cloud adoption, develop and coordinate a cloud architecture, and develop a cloud strategy and coordinate the adoption process. And they said, what do you want them to do every day? Find talent with the necessary skills, assess application software and hardware, creating a cloud broker team, establish best practices for cloud across the company, selecting cloud providers and vet third-party services, oversee governance and mitigate risk, working with the IT security people to monitor privacy and develop incident response procedures, manage budgets and estimate costs, and operate at scale. Hey, wait, did you hear code? No. Did you hear configure? No. Did you hear touch the tech? No, we don't ever do that. And that's the funny thing. I've gotten almost 150 architects hired this year, and not a single one of them has ever touched the technology. Not even once. Not even once. No, we don't do Python. Now, cloud engineers need to know Python, and cloud engineers need to know DevOps to some degree and Terraform, but for cloud architects, design, present, and sell. So for the cloud architect, you will be presenting at conferences, you'll be presenting to the CEO, you'll be writing thought leadership documents, you'll be presenting in conferences, working conference booths, but what you'll be managing large teams of engineers, you'll be writing statements of work, you'll be responding to RFIs, RFPs, RFQs. But what won't you be doing? Touching the technology. That's somebody else's job. Good question, though. And that's why, by the way, so many people can't get cloud hired. They come to me and say, I can't get cloud hired because I don't have experience. And I said, it has nothing to do with your experience. And they said, the job description wants experience. I said, they don't care about experience. They care about competency, competency, competency. How do I know? Well, every day I get somebody that's never worked. We had Jennifer. She was in mental health tech. She's not working as a cloud architect. She's never touched the tech. We've got Daniel, who's working as a cloud architect, never touched the tech. We got Delroy. He had recruiters coming out of him like the woodwork. He had 0 cloud certifications. They didn't care. They came to us because he was part of Go Cloud Careers, and we have such a strong brand with our students. How about Jeffrey? Jeffrey didn't have a tech background either, and he became a cloud architect. Yvonne Tambo, who's going to come in October to speak to you. One of my favorites. What a fine, powerful young man. Works for AWS, and he's going to come and share his experience in October, and he's looking forward to doing it, and I can't wait to do it. And guess what? He had no experience either. None of them code. Coyote also working for AWS. He doesn't code. Ian, I asked him, hey, do you code? He's like, Mike, seriously. Arun and Counter, do you code? Of course I don't code. They never touch the tech. But they also go to a lot of bars, a lot of dinners and drinking with my clients, lots of entertaining clients. Best job in the world. Best job in the world. Eric Fernandez. Is it reasonable to choose my own schedule as an engineer architect? I currently work 30 hours a week and have the bandwidth to work 60 to 70. I want to work in 2 to 3 hour sprints during the day. Okay, Eric, so you're going to be more likely to do it as an architect and not an engineer, but let me kind of put it into context. The job of the architect is amorphous. So sometimes I'd be in Greece working as an architect because that's where my family's from. Sometimes in South Florida. Sometimes I'd be on a boat ready to go scuba diving and be responding to things, assuming we actually had cell service or internet access. The job of the architect is much more free. And here's the reason why. The engineer, I needed to code this at this date and this time when everybody's there. Because for the engineer, it's going to be a maintenance window. You can do the work at 2 o'clock in the morning when nobody notices because you can't disrupt systems. For the architect, you can sort of make your own schedule with these things. So what do I mean by sort of make your own schedule? So for the better part of my architecture career, I woke up at 0600. I spoke to some people in Europe. Then around 0900, I did 2 hours of Krav Maga, an Israeli form of martial arts. And then I would work until about 1800, 1900. And then I would do another hour or two of martial arts or some strength and conditioning or some other hobby of mine. And then I might return phone calls. So the reason the architect works is you can pretty much set the times of most of your meetings. But it's not all. When you write your documents as an architect is irrelevant. You can write them in the back of an ambulance, for example. When I was being a paramedic and paying my way through school, I wrote my documents in the back of an ambulance on the way back from the hospital. Nobody cares. So the architect, your presentations, you can schedule them. Your client meetings, you can schedule them. So there's a lot of that. So you have much, much, much more freedom as an architect, and as a rule, you have much higher pay as well. But you can set the schedule, and I do 2 to 3 hour sprints, even today. I've got something after I had an injury in training in Israel, and I need 2 to 3 hours of PT each day just to be able to walk. So there's that. So what do? I schedule my PT in there, and I schedule my meetings around it. So because the architect is more an executive, you've got more flexibility. Now, if you have the bandwidth to work full time, it doesn't matter when you do your work. Chris on the other end of the call, my chief operating officer, tells me he's taking a nap almost every afternoon. I'm like, good, go do it. Because I need him to be fresh. I don't care what it is. Alonzo, my team's doing something else. We all work remotely, and as long as the job gets done, who cares? So you have much, much, much more freedom as an architect. Now, there will be times where you can't set your schedule. For example, if you have to meet with the chief executive officer of somebody, you're going to have to accommodate to their schedule. But you can plan your schedule. much, much better as an architect than an engineer. Engineers have less travel, architects do more travel, but you can work anywhere, anytime. It's the best job in the world. They're both great jobs, but you have flexibility as an architect. In fact, I remember when I first moved to Palm Beach, I moved to another part of Florida these days, but in the peak of my architecture career, before I retired, I came out of retirement to get everybody hired. I remember that, I was living in Palm Beach. I was doing my martial arts during the day, and it just didn't matter. So here's the thing, Eric. When somebody calls you, you respond, which I know you will. When someone gives you a message, you confirm that message so they know they feel you. Whether it's a roger that, or I got you, or some other approach, you do that. When somebody calls you, you call them back as fast as possible. Either you pick up or you send a message. I can't get you right now. I'll call you back whenever. So there's that. You deliver your work on time, early, and on budget. No one cares. Just get the job done, get the job done, get the job done. There's a lot of flexibility. And there's much more flexibility as an architect than an engineer. And not that one's better than the other. They're not. They're different. A sniper and a breacher are both equally important. They're different. An engineer and an architect are different. The architect's kind of more like that person on Overwatch that's looking at all the things that are going on and putting the pieces together. The engineer's working on those individual components. Equally important, just different. Just different. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. You're going to be solid in either one, but architecture gives you much more flexibility, except when there's no flexibility, like you got to go meet with the CEO. So I want to make sure I help all of you as possible. So please, if you've got some questions, please ask them. I've got about 10, 15 minutes, and I want to make sure that I help as many of you get to possible. Fernandez, I would love and be honored to help you get to your goals. Anakin, I wanted to ask, have you seen a movie called Margin Call? The way the CEO explains executives in that movie, it reminds me how you explain executive presence and leadership. I do believe I've seen that. If that's the movie with the physician that noticed what was going to be going on with the real estate market, I kind of was always a real estate investor, and I started to see it, and I went, whoa, spooked me around the same time. So I kind of got out of some certain things at the same time because I was there. Yeah, the CEO was right. But the executives are gravitas, executive presence, strong, powerful warriors in most cases that won't quit until the job is done. Executive presence is critical. Here's the reason. Hi, Anakin. How are you today? I'm here to help you. You feel it? Anakin, I'm here to help you. You feel the difference? So, some people call it the 1,000-yard stare, but, it's that presence, that being in the moment, knowing that you're there to solve the problem, making sure that customer knows that you care and not fake care, that you really care, that you're there with them, no matter what it takes to get the job done. I didn't realize how powerful this was. Many, many years ago, I had a manager, Joe. He had a bit of a tactical background. We'll just leave it at that. And I'd been at the company for about 2 weeks, and the company decided to do a 30% layoff. And I remember he says to me, calls me up and he says, Gibbs, you're safe. I'm like, Joe, why am I safe? And he says, because I asked you to do something. You said, what do you need? When do you need it? And I won't stop until the job's done. And he said, and then you delivered. He said, that's what I need. What I don't need is, yes. Thank you so much. He said, you go to the meeting, you're quiet and quiet. You get out of that meeting, you build your plan, and you call the CEO if you need to. You get the job done. So probably, for the most part, I've been in a lot of boardrooms for most of my life. So I believe it. I believe it on account of. I'm going to go watch that movie tonight now that you mentioned it. If it's the movie I think it is. In any case, I'm going to watch it. I'll download it from Amazon. Free, paid, I don't care. I want to see it now. Mike, after going through your cloud engineering program, what certification will get you the interview? I think you're missing this. Del Ray Bat, associate degree, got hired as a cloud security architect as his first job with 0 certifications. 0. Jeffrey West got hired as a cloud practitioner. Robert Welch just got a great cloud security architect job, a huge one, with a cloud practitioner certification. It's not certifications. It's your brand, your capabilities, not your certifications. Here, you've got 1,000 certifications. In fact, if somebody has more than 3 certifications, I won't even interview them. I won't waste my time on them because I know their focus is on certification. So no, certifications are not going to get you anything other than some gratification to pass an exam. Now, I will tell you the Certified Solution Architect Professional will help you get an interview. I'm also going to tell you the Cisco Certified Network Professional will help you get an interview. But if you don't do training beyond that, you know what you're going to have? Worthless, useless certifications. So what is your goal? Hired or certifications? My competitors are even stealing my message. Even my competitors are trying to force you to get a bunch of stupid certifications. When they finally realized their people weren't getting hired and all their students came to me, they're now saying skills, not certs. Of course, they don't have the skills to teach the skills, but that's the point. You need skills, 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 skills. Who do I want next to me in a bad environment? Someone that can do the job or someone that's covered in paper certifications? I want someone that's doing the job. That's what I need. So focus on getting the right skills. We will teach you how to build the right brand, and employers will come to you. Robert Welch has 1 certification, and guess what? He had 20 recruiters come to him every single day from the way we taught him how to build his brand. And guess what? Now he's caught hard. So, not certification, skills, 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 skills. The right skills. And guess what? If your focus is on certifications, nobody's going to know what's in your head. You've got to be, how do I know what's in your head? You explain the technology to me. What is the tech? How does the tech work? Why do we use it? And if you sound like you got it out of a certification book, instead of understanding it, again, I can't hire. So come get cloud hired. Join us tomorrow night and hear from Robert. Hear from a guy that got an amazing job with just a cloud practitioner, which is a certification for sales reps even. Nobody cares. They care about you being able to get hired, and I want you getting hired. So shift your focus to becoming great. We'll be here live on YouTube at 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. So 1800 hours, 6 p.m., whichever is easier to remember, Eastern Standard Time. I want you to be there. Hear how people get hired. Look at how Delroy Beck got a cloud security architect with 0 certifications. You're going to do great. Train for the job, not the certification. Kish industry. How long will it take to complete the cloud engineer course if you have the fundamentals for Linux and Python? Probably 8 months. Probably 8 months. Because having the fundamentals down versus knowing how to use it in the cloud environment is totally different. So it's probably still going to take you about 8 months. And here's the thing, unless you've done the job before, you need to be taught the job. Now, if your Linux fundamentals are that you've been building Linux clouds and you've been doing Linux engineering and you've been patching kernels and creating kernels and writing a tremendous amount of bash scripts, then maybe it'll take you 6 months. And Python, honestly, most people can learn Python in a week or 2. So that's not really the big thing. Kishan, the real work is this. And we'd love to get you there. And I can get you there because I get people across the finish line every day. Finish line meaning hired, not passing a silly cert. The thing to get you there is you've got to have the skills. So when you look at a customer that's got 50,000 subnets and 20,000 remote locations and 200,000 employees, and you got to build something to make that work, it's not based on your fundamentals on just Linux. It's based upon, do you know the network? Do you know BGP, IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting? Because you're going to be dealing with the routing. Do you know which WAN technologies, how to tune them and perform them? Do you know how to optimize the switching technologies? Do you know how to optimize the NAT? What happens when one company buys another company? You've got overlapping IP addresses, not just to the internet. It's that. Do you know how to tune your virtual machines and your containers and your firewalls and how to work with firewalls outside of the cloud native things? Do you understand how to optimize the workflows, how to tune the performance of slow performing cloud storage? Because it's all slow. How to deal with the latency problems of the cloud, the security problem of the cloud. There's a lot of stuff to deal with. It requires deep engineering. Cloud engineers are really, really smart people. They get very deep tech. If you were working for Red Hat for, say, the last 5 years as a Linux engineer, then I wouldn't need to teach you Linux. If you were a software developer in Python for a couple of years, then I wouldn't have to teach you Python. But if your knowledge is topical, like I took a certification course, you're going to need a lot more. So it's going to take about 6 to 8 months. And here's the reality. That's just what it takes to get a good career. Now, if I'm getting people through, and it takes me 8 to 12 months for my architects, that's the reality. When people have tech, sometimes they get through quicker if they're networking. For example, what was his name? God, I'm drawing a blank. The guy that we hired as a senior got hired as a senior solution, Joe Millen. He got hired as a senior solution architect, but he was a network architect like me from Cisco. And he said, Mike, how long is it for me to take to get cloud hired? And I said, as a network architect, we'll tune your leadership skills, your sales skills, your executive presence. 2 months, you'll be hired as an architect. A month later, he was a senior solution architect at AWS, but he was a special case. And I want to get to there, but I don't want to lie to you. I don't want to mislead you. I don't want to give you overly ambitious promises. I think it's going to take you 6 to 8 months. But when you get there, Kishan, you're going to be really happy. You're going to have a great career, and you're going to thrive. And not only are you going to get hired, because we're going to teach you the leadership skills, the executive presence, the communication skills, the sales skills, you're going to earn a lot more too. A lot more. We're even going to teach you how to negotiate a higher salary and how to interview. Because, we can pay a cloud engineer 110 or 190 based upon, how much we like you and those things. So we're going to really focus on those things. We will get you hired. Our team has the skills. We do it every single day. But 6 to 8 months, it's a big career. It really is. And you know what? If you need it a little longer, we'll keep you in there until you're hired, up to a year. I don't care. I just want you hired. And I know we've exchanged messages on LinkedIn for the year. So if you started with us then, you'd already be working as a cloud engineer. I don't really care. I just want you hired. I want you to have a career that you absolutely love and build upon it. So when you leave our course, you're not just going to have the fundamental skills. You're going to have really elite skills. So you can rise to any occasion, get hired, get promoted. And you're not going to start low. You're going to start much higher. So 6 to 8 months. Now, if your Linux skills are, like I said, Red Hat, you worked at Red Hat, then poof, it'll be less. But if it's just you've got these, but it's all going to come down to your fundamentals. So we're going to start you at 0 anyway. And here's why. I want to bring everybody to a common level in body and knowledge so that I know you've got the fundamentals. You know what mastery is? What it really comes down to, being an expert in the fundamentals. Early in my martial arts career, I made a mistake. I learned all these cool moves. It was great, right? And then I went to Israel one day, and somebody punched me, and it was like poof. I was doing these fancy things, and he did a throat strike, and it was gentle enough that he didn't kill me. But the point was, it was like, see, there, you're focused on all this fancy stuff. One shot to the groin, one shot to the throat. You're already stunned. So focus, focus, focus. We'll get you there. I'd say 6 to 8 months. You'll be cloud hired, and you'll be very, very happy, Kishan. And I can't wait, if you work with us, to the day you tell me you're hired. It'll be a big celebration. I know somebody gets cloud hired every day, but my team will tell you it's like a massive celebration for all of us. That's right. Mr. Wright, with no experience or degree, how does someone land interview with recruiters and HR? Well, we don't go to HR, we go to recruiters. It's about building your brand. So, hear how he would get 20 recruiters reach out to him every day. In a couple of weeks, we're going to have Ivan Tamba come back on, who was serving food as a waiter when he got hired by AWS. It's about building your brand and building the brand of everything that's there. How about Jeffrey West? He was doing geospatial imaging. How did he get hired as a cloud architect? We helped him build his brand. Delroy Batt doesn't have any certifications. He had 3 cloud architect offers. How? We helped him build his brand. Jennifer was a mental health tech, and she's now working for JP Morgan Chase as a cloud architect. How? We helped her build their brand. So when you build the right brand, the recruiters come to you. They just come straight to you. You don't even have to look for them. I don't look for them. I don't have to look for them. Not even at all. Why? Because when you have the brand, the world comes to you. Now, sure, but it doesn't matter. There's so few competent people, and I want to make this clear. If you interview 1,000 people, you know what you're going to find? Maybe one person that can do the job. Maybe. It's that hard. So build the right skills, and there's that. Now, if you're in our training program, we'll teach you how to do it. We'll teach you how to make the recruiters come to you. We'll show you what's the right bait to put on your resume, what's the right bait to put on your LinkedIn profile, and people will literally harass you. We'll tell you what kind of content to post on LinkedIn, what kind of content to create, how to show yourself as an authority. And it's not going to be like writing a blog teaching you how to install an Apache web server. Why do I say this? I saw a certification provider making everybody write blogs. hey, guess what? Today I installed Apache, and I'd say, and it was 3 pages on it. When you really said, here's how to install an Apache web server, yum install Apache on Red Hat, or sudo apt install Apache on a Debian or an Ubuntu system. That's it. So you build the right content, you build the right message, you have the right things on your resume that show you exactly what they want, and the world will come to you. I don't apply for jobs. Never had to. Never had to. Now, Chris. I don't know if I can get to any more. Actually, I think we can do one more. Let's get to Junior's question because it's career related. Mercedes, what would you suggest to improve your presentation and other architect soft skills, especially for a techie who's afraid to speak in public? I'll give you 2 options. What I would really suggest is you take our Cloud Architect Career Development Program and you'll get them. But if you're not with us, I'm going to suggest some training for you. Now, if you're not with us, it's going to cost you at least $50,000 for this training. How do I know? Because it was well over $50,000 of training that I took, and that was 20 years ago. So if you're not with us, you're going to need some good presentation skills training. And that's going to be about $5,000 for the week. Jerry Weissman does some good ones. Speak Easy does some good ones, but it's going to be at least $5,000. Then of course, we teach it all in depth, and you'll be covered. The next thing is you're going to need some empathy training. Now, again, that's going to put you into a couple $1,000s for the week's worth of training. Now, the soft skills training, again, you're going to need a lot of that. And again, there's executive companies out there that teach that. But again, that's going to be $3,000 to $10,000 for training in that. Now, then you're going to need emotional intelligence training. For that, you can take a Daniel Goleman course. Again, $4,000 or $5,000, you're good. Or you can just take our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. We have a much better solution than any of it. And here's the reason why. They don't just teach emotional intelligence. We have a different perspective. So emotional intelligence, which is the key to all of this, is how do you control your emotions and other people's emotions, right? So there's 2 sides of it. When you take the rest of this training, they teach you this in theory. Now here, like Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan until they get kicked in the face. And let's be fair, when you're stressed, all that stuff goes out the window. So last Friday, for example, in our class, I made my students practice interview. Now, anybody can practice interview in good terms. So what did I do? I got their heart rate up. I got them in pain. And then I interviewed them. We got to see which people got flustered or not. Who survived it? People with a tactical background. They breathed their way through it and were fine. I had a couple of yogis that walked through it like nothing. So we teach a lot of things. We use some of the things that are used in the tactical community, like tactical breathing. We added some yoga in there. We had some behavioral changes. When it comes down to it, when times are tough and you are stressed, you're going to have negative thoughts in your head. You can't afford to have negative thoughts in your head. So you got to catch the negative thought, poof, and interject a positive, more rational thought. And we teach you how to do that with some cognitive behavior therapy training. So if you're not with us, get some of that as well. So I could train you, or you could take those training programs, but you have to do it. You have to do it. Now, I'd say of the $250,000 education I have, at least 100,000 of it comes from this stuff. Leadership coaching and all these things. And that's why I made this course. So, Junior, I'm going to make this very clear. I know most people can't afford it. I don't need to work. I had an incredible architecture career and was retired at 34 years old. I don't need to work. So my team and I put together an elite soft skills training package. Lots of emotional intelligence, lots of sales skills, executive presence, business acumen. Why? Because in my retirement, and let's face it, I'm in my retirement. I'm 49 years old. I had an incredible architecture career. In my retirement, I just like getting the world hired. This weekend, all my students were writing a book with me. Why? To get their name out there and build their brands. And we're going to give that book away to thousands of people. And thousands of people that can't afford training in the developing nations are going to get free trainings from us. So there's that. So and there's just so many things you can do, but go give presentations. Get an executive coach if you don't take our course. Give the presentation. Have someone look at your gravitas or your executive presence. Have someone coach you on your vocal tone. Have someone coach you how to make your point, go to the next point, go to your next point. Have someone shows you how to raise the energy. Get training. It's not something I can answer here in 5 minutes. I can say I put about 100 hours of training in our training program to teach this to the people. And you'll be giving presentations. You'll be getting feedback on the presentations. You'll be presenting it here with our training in live classes in front of others to induce some stress. And sometimes I'm going to really stress you out and get you to do it. And you're going to learn great. Because we combined hardcore stress with all the right skills. And why do I do it? See, when you go on an interview, you're relaxed? Of course you're not. Is your heartbeat going thump, 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 thump? Do you forget to breathe? Now, why is it so important to focus on the mind, Alexis Alcides Jr.? Well, look at it this way. Right now we're talking. I'm using the prefrontal cortex of my brain. Yes, I used to practice internal medicine, so I got a lot of knowledge in my head. So we're using our prefrontal cortexes. You know what happens when you get stressed? Your prefrontal cortex shuts down. You know what kicks into your amygdala? Your amygdala is not very emotionally intelligent and not communicative. So if you've had a friend, mother, father, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, I don't care, someone that you've ever said something you regretted to because in the heat of an argument, that's because your prefrontal cortex was shut down. So we teach you how to keep that nasty thing shut down and keep your prefrontal cortex engaged. You need all of that. And if you do all that, guess what? You'll get there. Consistent practice, proper practice, because practice does not make perfect. Practice makes permanent. Perfect practice makes perfect. I want you trained right. So I'm going to end on this. I went to some training in Israel many years ago. It was really some great training. Now, look, the first day of training was probably the most critical piece of lesson that I learned from my entire life. You got there and the guy says, look, before we do any training, I'm going to give you some survival tips for life. If you do these 3 things, you'll be safe and happy for the rest of your life. He said, eat right, think right, and train right. He said, if you eat right, you'll be healthy and you'll be strong and you'll be able to take care of yourself and be in a position to be able to be prepared for whatever's coming. He said, if you think right, guess what? You're probably not going to have any problems unless you're in harm's way anyway. You'll be able to talk yourself out of situations, outmaneuver yourself, be able to build a plan to win. And he said, if you train right, no matter what, you'll be prepared for whatever life throws your way. So eat right, think right, train right. Build your best life, build your best career. So please join me on Thursday for the How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. Come on tomorrow night and listen to Robert Welch, how he got his first cloud security architect job, how he would get 15 to 20 people come to him every single day trying to hire him until he found the job that he wanted the most. And take advantage of our 30% off sale using the coupon code potential and get cloud hired. And if you're a warrior and you're looking for the training program for our warriors, or helping our heroes get hired program, take advantage of the coupon code HEROES for 50% off. I'd like to thank you for coming today. I am thrilled and honored to have you all here. Let's get cloud hired, everybody. Cloud hired. Give me a cloud hired in the chat box, and I'll see you soon.